Let me hear your strategy here. You're now CEO of Google. What do you do?
I think there's maybe even a bigger problem before that, which is I think the whole monetization model might change. So the reason why Google monetizes so well is perceived as having the best search. And then it gives you a list of links, and a bunch of those links are paid, and then people click on them. Now, I think when you search an AI, you're looking for a very different kind of answer. You're not looking for a list of 10 or 20 links. You're just looking for the answer. And so where is the opportunity to advertise against that? I mean, maybe you can charge like an affiliate commission if the answer contains a link in it or something like that. But then you have to ask the question, well, does that distort like best answer? Like, am I really getting the best answer, or am I getting the answer that someone's willing to pay for?
This is your key insight. The fact is, if Google gives you an answer, you don't click on ads. Google has had a very finely tuned balance between, hey, these first 2 or 3 paid ads, the paid links might actually give you a better answer than the content below them. But in this case, if the ChatGPT tells you, hey, this is the top 3 televisions, these are the top 3 hotels, these are the top 3 ways to, write a better essay, you don't need to click. You have now been given an answer, and the model is gone.
The paid link is still a subset in that case. So at Google, we used to have a key metric was the bounce back rate. So when a user
explain what a bounce back is, yeah.
So when a user clicks on a result on the search results page, we could see whether or not they came back and searched again. And so that tells you the quality of the result that they were given, because if they don't come back, it means they ended up getting what they were looking for. And so ads that performed better than organic search results, which means someone created the ad, paid for it, and the user clicked on it and didn't come back and came back with less frequency than if they clicked on an organic result, that meant that the ad quality was higher than organic quality. And so the ad got promoted to kind of sit at the top, and it became a really kind of important part of the equation for Google's business model, which is how do we monetize more search results where we can get advertisers to pay for a better result than what organic search might otherwise kind of show. And so it's actually better for the user in this case than, say, just getting an answer. For example, I'm looking for a PlayStation 5. I don't want to just be told, hey, go to Best Buy and buy a PlayStation 5. I want to be taken to the checkout page to buy a PlayStation 5. And I am more likely to be happy if I click on a result and it immediately takes me to the checkout page. And Best Buy is really happy to pay for you to get there because they don't want you looking around the internet looking for other places. And we can't convolute all search queries. Not all search queries are, hey, what's the best dog to get to not pee on the floor, or whatever kind of arbitrary question you might have that you're doing research on. Many search queries are commerce intention related. I want to buy a flight to go somewhere. I want to book a hotel to go somewhere. I want to buy a video game system, etc. That series of queries may have a very different kind of modality in terms of what's the right interface versus the ChatGPT interface, where, there's a lot of kind of organic results that people sift on the internet for today. And the question earlier can be resolved by Google doing a simple analytical exercise, which is, what's it going to cost us and what's going to give the user the best result? And that's ultimately what will kind of resolve to the better business model. It's really measurable. I think on Chamath's point, today Google pays Apple $15 billion a year to be the default search engine on iPhones on the Safari browser. That's only about a quarter of Google's overall TAC. The majority of Google's traffic acquisition cost is actually not being paid for search. A good chunk of that is being paid to publishers to do AdSense display ads on their sites, and Google's rev share back to them for putting ads on their sites. So, the TAC number, I think maybe you kind of want to move the needle, but the majority of Google searches don't come through the default search engine that they pay Apple to be on. It might move the needle a bit, but I don't think it really changes the equation for them.
My comment is more, TAC has to become a weapon on the forward foot, number one. So if you're going to spend 21% of your revenue on TAC, you should be willing to spend 30 to 40% to maintain the 93% market share. I don't think what you want to see is your profit dollars decay because you lose share. It's rather better for you to spend the money and decay your business model than have someone decay it for you in general.
Apple, at this point, Apple is really the only TAC line item.
No, I understand. I understand. I'm not talking about today. I'm saying take that idea. You have an entire sales team whose job it is right now to sell AdSense. right? You have an entire group of people who know how to account for TAC and how to think about it as a cost. But if you're basically willing to say, out of the $100 billion of free cash flow, I'm willing to go to 80 or 70 billion of free cash flow, combined with the 100 billion of short and long-term investments I have, and I'm going to use it as a weapon. And I'm going to go and make sure that all of these publishers have a new kind of agreement that they signed up for, which is, I'll do my best to help you monetize. You do your best by being exclusive to our AI agents, right? So you deprive other models of your content on your pages, because that will get litigated. And there is no way, just like, again, if you say do not crawl, you're not allowed to crawl if you're Google or Microsoft or a search engine. So, this is going to happen for these agents. It's unrealistic to expect that it won't. So my point is, Google should do this and define how it's done before it's defined for them. Because right now, people are in this nascent phase where everybody thinks everybody's going to be open and get along. And I just think that that's unrealistic.
It's a really important kind of philosophical question. First off, like Google today, just so people know, on AdSense is typically paying out 70 cents on every dollar to the publisher. There's, it's a pretty, generous, and it's the way they've kind of kept the competitive moat, wide and kept folks out of beating them on third-party ad network bids, because they bid on everything and they always win because they always share the most revenue back. So they own that market. With respect to acquiring content, the internet is open. It's an open protocol. Anyone can go to any website by typing in the IP address and viewing the content that a publisher chooses to make available on that server to display to the internet. And there's a fair use policy.
That's not true.
And there's you can type in any IP address.
I think 15 or 20 or 30% of the pages on the internet right now are apps that are closed. Facebook's closed, Instagram's closed.
I'm talking about the open internet, right? So like the content on the open internet.
But I'm saying the open internet matters less and less.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, you're right. Maybe there's the enhancement of the models. But my point being that if the internet is open and you and I spent a billion lifetimes reading the whole internet and getting smart, and then we were the chatbot and someone came and asked us a question and we could kind of answer their question because we've now read the whole internet, do I owe licensing royalty revenues to the knowledge that I gained and then the synthesis that I did, which ultimately meant excluding some things, including some things, combining certain things? And the problem with these LLMs, these large language models, is that you end up with 100 million, a billion plus parameters that are in these models that are really impossible to deconvolute. You don't know, we don't really understand deeply how the neural network is, the model is defined and run based on the data that it is constantly kind of aggregating and learning from. And so to go in and say, hey, it learned a little more from this website and a little less from that website
I'm not saying
is a
that.
practical impossibility.
I'm saying when you look at transformer architecture today, every LLM that you write on the same corpus of underlying data for training will get to the same answer. So my point is, today, if you're a company, the most important thing that you can do, especially if you have a $1 trillion plus market cap that could get competed away, is to figure out how to defend it. And so all I'm saying is, from the perspective of a shareholder of Google, and also from the perspective of either the board of director or a senior executive or the CEO, this should be the number one thing that I'm thinking about. And my framing of how to answer that question is build a competitive moat around two things.